Hello. Okay, so this is a section I'm calling the Realty Rundown. And so we're going to talk about what buyers and sellers need to know right now in the Phoenix market. Well, maybe everywhere. So I'm going to do my new little intro for this and I'll be right back. I think. Hang on. Somewhere around here. This is your Realty Rundown. Oh, I'm getting fancy. So yeah, this is my little my background for this is your perfection is boring. There we go. Realty Rundown. So let's talk about this a little bit. Okay. So this is where I'm going to talk about what's happening in real estate and what you need to know and what it actually means for you. Okay. So let's get into it. So if you've been watching the Phoenix real estate market and wondering what the heck is actually going on, guess what? You're not alone. I don't know if that'll make you feel better or not, because we're getting some mixed signals right now. Mortgage rates are still high enough that some buyers are sitting on the sidelines, and we're seeing price reductions. I'm seeing in my own listings. Sellers are offering concessions, but homes are still selling. So, what does all of that mean if you're thinking about buying or selling? Well, here's what I'm seeing. Okay. As of August 6th, let me show you the graphic here. The average 30-year fixed mortgage was around 6.69. So that's what we've got right there. Okay. So what does this do? Well, rates do affect affordability, and they keep some buyers out of the market, but buyers still have quite a bit of leverage in this market. And that's not a brand new concept, especially here in the past few years. It's been in a buyer's direction for quite some time. So what's important right now is what that leverage can actually get you. Okay. So buyers have choices, and they're able to negotiate on things like price, repairs, closing costs. And one of the biggest opportunities we're seeing right now is seller concessions. So let me find, see, this is it. These are all the things, right? So a seller concession is the money the seller agrees to contribute towards certain buyers' costs. Like, that's part of the transaction. And there's all kinds of ways. I could have a whole other topic on this, but depending on the buyer's loan and situation, the concessions can potentially help cover closing costs and interest rate buy down and certain other allowable costs associated with the purchase. So those things would include, the repairs and stuff. Like I said, there's strategic ways to do stuff. So it can be pretty great. Um, it's a whole different, like I said, whole different topic. So here's something people don't always realize: getting another 10,000 off the purchase price isn't always the best deal. Can you imagine that? Sometimes using that 10,000 strategically toward closing costs or an interest rate buy down, like I just talked about, could make a bigger difference to your monthly payment or the amount of cash you need at closing. So that's why I'm not just looking at the price of the house when I'm negotiating for a buyer. I'm looking at the whole deal. So what's the seller willing to contribute? What repairs can we negotiate? How much cash does my buyer need to bring to closing? And what is this home actually going to cost them every month? Okay. So, um, so this is where I think it's a real opportunity for some buyers. If you have the financial means and you're in a position to comfortably buy a home right now, don't look at the interest rate by itself and automatically decide that you should wait. Because while rates are keeping some buyers on the sidelines, that also means less competition for you. And this is a really big deal. So you may be able to get a better house for a better price. You'll have more choices. You may be able to negotiate your repairs or other terms that could be much harder to get in a more competitive market. Because what happens when the interest rates drop? You're suddenly competing against all those other buyers as well, right? So does that mean everyone should go run out and buy a house right now? Absolutely not. Don't buy a house today if you can only afford it when rates come down later. Make sure the numbers work for you now. If rates come down and you could refinance later, that's amazing. Okay. But that's not something that can be promised to you. Okay. So now let's talk about sellers, because I don't want this to sound like everything happening in this market benefits buyers. There are opportunities for sellers too. First, homes are still selling. Buyers are just being more selective. And yes, pricing matters. If there are 5 comparable homes available and yours is significantly more expensive, sorry, my throat is so dry. If yours is more expensive because you're leaving room to negotiate, the buyer may never negotiate with you. They can just go and buy one of the other 4. And then your house sits. And once it sits, buyers start wondering, what's wrong with it? That's when sellers can end up chasing the market down with price reductions instead of pricing strategically from the beginning. Here's something important. Price isn't the only tool that sellers have. Ooh. Sometimes offering a buyer a concession toward closing costs, so this is I've talked about this a couple of times already, or an interest rate buy down may make your home more attractive without simply taking another big chunk off the asking price. We can look at what's keeping that buyer from moving forward. Is it the price? Is it the monthly payment? Is it the amount of cash they need at closing? Is it a repair they're worried about? Does it need to be painted? I mean, there's lots of things, right? Sometimes there's a way to structure that transaction that works for both sides. And condition matters too. That doesn't mean that you need to remodel your house. I'm doing this all myself here, so I'm moving this. That doesn't mean you need to remodel your entire house before you sell it. But if there are obvious repairs or maintenance issues, let's figure out which ones that to address that actually makes sense. And there's another advantage for sellers that sometimes people forget. If you're selling because you're also planning on buying another home, you get to become a buyer in this market too. So this is the deal. Selling and buying, look at the whole move, okay? You have to negotiate on the home you're selling, but you also may have more negotiating power, more choices, and better terms on the home you're buying. So you may get a better price, you may negotiate concessions, you may get repairs. So don't look at the sale of your home in isolation. We need to look at the whole move. Boom. So sometimes what you give up on one side can be made up for on the other, okay? So the other thing I'm watching is the new federal housing legislation, the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, okay? So here is a picture of this right here, okay? There are a lot of pieces to it, including efforts to increase housing supply, make some smaller mortgages easier to obtain, and address large institutional investors buying single-family homes. None of that's going to suddenly make housing affordable tomorrow, but it's worth watching. And as those programs roll out, I'll talk more about what they could actually mean for Arizona buyers and homeowners. Okay, so what's my biggest takeaway from the Arizona market right now? It's not a bad market. It's just a market that requires strategy. If you're a buyer who's financially ready, there may be a real opportunity to get a better home, negotiate a better price, and put together better terms than you could in a highly competitive market. And if you're a seller, don't assume another price reduction is automatically the only answer. Price matters, condition matters, marketing matters, and how we structure an offer matters. And remember, Phoenix isn't one giant housing market. What's happening in one neighborhood or one price range can look completely different from what's happening somewhere else in the valley. So if you're wondering, hey, what's this market actually mean for me? Well, then reach out to me. Let's look at the numbers and figure out whether making a move makes sense. And I'm going to add this on here because I'm getting sort of fancy. I always wonder what people use for their things. Why don't you do this for me? Like and subscribe. Boom. And I will see you next time. I don't know how to turn that off. See you later.